Hey guys, welcome to the Bows. So today I'll be looking at the fighter from each division in the UFC that has the best shot at becoming a champion by the end of next year. So starting with flyweight, I think the guy that has the best chance of being a champion by the end of next year is Askar Askarov. He's very well-rounded. He hasn't lost a fight. He had a very competitive fight with the current champion, Brandon Moreno. And he's very well-rounded, has the wrestling background. This guy is very, very good. And I think it's likely that we're going to see him fight for the belt soon. It's just that he's not super marketable, and the UFC is not pushing him overly because of that reason. So we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully he gets a shot because he's got the talent. Now onto the bantamweight division. I think this one's kind of obvious. Petr Yan's going to reclaim his title, most likely, when he faces Aljamain Sterling again in the rematch. Aljamain Sterling kind of got dominated most of that fight after the first 4 minutes of the first round. Petr Yan was just making reads, seeing what Aljamain's doing. Aljamain Sterling kind of burnt out in the first 4.5 minutes when they first fought, and then Petr Yan just took over from there. He's going to reclaim the belt, but I'm going to give another guy because I think that's kind of an obvious answer in picking Petr Yan to reclaim undisputed gold. So the other guy I'm going to pick is Merab Dvalishvili. You got to look out for this guy. His pace is ridiculous. He is a complete cardio machine. He's well-rounded, and it's just hard for guys to keep up with him. But in all honesty, I have a hard time seeing anybody beat Petr Yan at this point. He's just very well-rounded, very athletic, and he just puts a pace on guys and figures guys out later in the fight, and it's hard for people to deal with. And in featherweight, I think Max Holloway has a great shot at reclaiming his belt. The problem is, him and Volkanovski are so competitive with each other, and Volkanovski is very hard to put away, and it's almost impossible for him to lose on the scorecards. He's just too good at fighting that way and fighting to win rounds. I'm going to give another guy in there, too, who I think is going to be a real threat, and I think everyone would probably agree with this, and that's Giga Chikadze. The guy's a ridiculous kickboxer. We saw what happens when he has no wrestling threat to worry about when he fought Barboza. He looks so fast and so accurate and just fluid. And Barboza not being a takedown threat at all, knowing that he's going to stand with him and bang, Giga was able to just put on a pace on him, pick him apart, throw hard shots, throw everything he can into it because you know Barboza's not going to shoot him for a takedown over a big left hand or grab his leg on a kick and try and take him down. So when Giga Chikadze fights other strikers, it's going to be a rough night for the other striker. So I actually worry in a matchup with Giga and Max Holloway. I think Max Holloway is going to have to try and shoot for the takedown. He can't stand with this guy for an extended period of time, especially if he's not able to put a pace on him late in the fight like Max is usually able to do. In the lightweight division, the guy most likely to win a belt by the end of next year, I think, is Islam Makhachev. The only thing that may not happen is he may get kind of screwed out of an opportunity because if Oliveira wants to fight McGregor like he's calling for in May, and maybe there's one more fight at the end of the year then, and if Gaethje holds out, then he's going to get the fight after that. Realistically, it should be Gaethje first, and if Oliveira is able to beat Gaethje, then he gets Islam Makhachev or Beneil Dariush, whoever wins that fight. But the Conor factor switches everything up, of course, so we'll see what happens with that. I think the Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira matchup is the most exciting matchup in the UFC right now. It's kind of got that Tony Khabib vibe, but maybe even a little bit more because Oliveira's level of technical abilities on the feet was better than Tony's was when Tony was in his prime. Tony was always a grinder, a guy that always put a pace on you, but Tony's technique wasn't always perfect. It was just the pace and the pressure and the ability to attack from anywhere. But if you look at the technique of Oliveira, it's better. And the jiu-jitsu is just beyond elite. Very exciting matchup. I'm very excited to see what happens with that. I hope they make that soon after Gaethje versus Oliveira, if Oliveira can get past Gaethje. The problem is Gaethje comes in as a close second. I think Gaethje could be a really tough matchup for Oliveira. On paper, I think Gaethje has an upper hand, but I feel like Oliveira just finds a way to win fights. And I actually think he'll find a way to find the submission. Now onto the welterweight division, and this is the hardest one to pick because Kamaru is the most dominant fighter, pound for pound in the UFC. He's the best fighter in the UFC right now, pound for pound at this moment. So it's really hard to pick against this guy ever. And we've seen him fight so many of the top contenders already and beat them. So if you look at guys that he already beat and take those guys out of the equation, the only guy that I think is a stylistic matchup that may be very interesting and possibly tough for Kamaru, who knows, is Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat Chimaev is big for the division. He's a fantastic wrestler, very strong, and he's got power in his hands, as we've seen multiple times when he fought on the regional scene and when he fought Gerald Meerschaert. Very explosive fighter. He's going to be faster than Kamaru, probably bigger than Kamaru, definitely bigger than Kamaru. He's 2 inches taller and struggled to make 170. So it's very interesting to see what happens with that. And of course, the runner-up, who I think would be a tough matchup for Kamaru also, is Colby Covington. But we did see it twice, and Kamaru came up on top twice. So that's kind of out of the picture right now. And in the middleweight division, I think Robert Whittaker has the best chance of dethroning Israel Adesanya. But that's a tough place to put your chips on because we saw that fight already, and Robert got smoked. But I honestly do think that wasn't his best night, and I think he can have a much more competitive fight. I'd still favor Israel in the fight, but I still think he's got the best chance. Whittaker seems to be a step above all of the other contenders in the division, so that's why we're seeing this fight again, and that's why he's still number one contender. This is a great fight, I think, and I think Robert Whittaker can surprise a lot of people in this rematch. Maybe come up on top, but I think it's going to be a lot more competitive. The other guy I'm interested to see in a matchup with Adesanya and some of the other top guys, it's too early to tell, but I'm thinking of Sean Strickland. The guy's a really good boxer, and it's really interesting to see what he's going to do with this type of pressure, kind of crowding kicks, doesn't allow kicks to kind of be put off. In my opinion, I'm sure Israel would find an opening and have Sean walk into a trap, but I still like the matchup regardless. I'm interested to see how he does against Hermansson in the upcoming months when that fight happens. In the light heavyweight division, I think Yuri Prochazka has the best chance because he's got the title shot next, and he's fighting an obviously older, Glover Teixeira. Now, if this fight gets to the ground and Glover's on top, this fight could be over real quick. I think there's going to be a big discrepancy in ability on the ground, and Glover's going to dominate from there. But Yuri Prochazka doesn't seem to worry as much about getting taken down, not letting his offense go, and he's going to be much faster, and I don't think he's going to worry as much as Blachowicz about getting taken down, and he's going to be able to get his offense going early. And if he gets a few good shots on Glover clean, and he's very fast and very powerful, I think it could be a short night for Glover, and I think you could see Yuri Prochazka come out on top and become the champion by next year. There's quite a few other guys in this division that can also become champion possibly by next year. I could see Jan Blachowicz reclaiming his belt possibly at some point. I can also see Alexander Rakic getting a shot at the belt and winning. The guy uses distance very well. He's very fast and athletic. He's big for the division, and he's very good. I think he can have a good shot at getting the belt. And of course, the other guy you got to look at is Magomed Ankalaev. Very talented fighter, fantastic striker. He's got that Dagestani combat sambo background, so this guy's going to be a real threat, and you could see him be champ at some point fairly soon. Now, lastly, heavyweight. And I think your current interim champion, Ciryl Gane, will be champion by next year in January. It's a great fight. Obviously, Francis could put anybody's lights out with one shot. Ciryl just needs to make one mistake for Francis Ngannou to capitalize. But I just think he's too good, Ciryl Gane. I think he's too fluid. He's too good at distance control and not getting hit and following a game plan and not fighting emotional. I think he's going to be the guy to beat Francis Ngannou and do it with a masterclass performance. But we'll see. This is a really competitive fight, and if you can get Francis at plus money, that's always a good bet with a power puncher like Francis. But with that being said, if I had to put my money in one place, assuming it's even money, I'd put it on Ciryl Gane. I think he could possibly be the best fighter in the world at some point, pound for pound, and I really mean that. All right, that's all I got today. Leave a like, subscribe, and let me know what you thought about my picks. Let me know if you disagree with any of them. Let me know if I'm missing any fighters, any dark horses in any of these divisions. All right, till next time, peace.